What's up guys, Lisa here of Borderlands Bakery here, and today we're going to be making these amazing matcha truffles. Our friends over at Matcha sent us these amazing matcha powders and we're going to be using them in our truffles today, but I also drink them. Thank you guys over at Matcha for sponsoring this video. These truffles are so easy to make. You only need 4 ingredients and you can dress them up however you like. And here I've added a little bit of edible gold leaf to take them to that next level. Also, how cute is this Baking is My Cardio shirt? My friend Krista over at the Domestic Cookie sells these. This is a Borderlands Bakery design, and 15% of each sale actually gets donated to charity or someone else in need. We don't make a penny off them, so definitely go check it out in the link in the description box below. Alright, so for these matcha truffles, we're only going to need 4 ingredients. First thing is 5 ounces of white chocolate chips. I have the Ghirardelli brand, but pretty much any brand is going to work just fine. Of course, we've got our matcha. We're going to need half a tablespoon, 1 tablespoon of salted butter. I'm using Kerrygold today. And finally, 1/6 of a cup of heavy whipping cream. And then equipment-wise, we're gonna use a couple of different things. So here I've got my handy dandy chocolate warmer. It actually has 2 settings. I got this on Amazon for like $25. And what it does is it melts your chocolate at a kind of slow and steady pace and keeps it warm. You can also use a double boiler if you want, but I really have used this a ton. You can also use this for melting like dipping chocolate or to make hot cocoa bombs. We have a video on that, so definitely go check it out. I also have here a silicone mold. You want to use silicone because we're working with kind of basically a ganache. And if you use kind of a plastic chocolate mold, it's going to be really hard to pop your ganache out of that. So I've got a silicone mold. I also got this off of Amazon. And I've got a little tiny fine mesh sieve so that we can put our matcha powder through it. That way we don't end up with any giant matcha chunks. And then lastly, I have a Borderlands Bakery piping bag. I'm going to be putting my ganache / truffle in here and using that to help make piping easier. You can also use a Ziploc bag if you don't have a piping bag. First thing you want to do is plug in your chocolate warmer. There's 2 settings on this, low and high. We're going to go low and slow for this one to make sure that nothing seizes and everything melts very evenly. I really love this thing because it's silicone, and when you're ready to wash it, you can just wait for all your chocolate to kind of harden, and then it just pops right out, all the chocolate falls off. So easy to clean. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is get our white chocolate chips in here. Get them going so that they can start melting down. We're also going to add in our heavy whipping cream, all of it at once. And then we're just going to give it a good stir to combine. And then just give it a couple minutes. It'll slowly start to melt down. Make sure you guys are stirring it often. And let the low heat work its magic. It'll probably take anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes. And then this guy will melt down. And then we will sift in our matcha, and then finally at the end add in a tablespoon of butter to get everything well combined together. While your chocolate is melting, you can prep your piping bag. I like to just stick my hand in it. Whoop. Pull the sides around the edges of the cup so that it's a lot easier to fill. Set that aside, and we're gonna wait for these guys to melt down again. It's been about 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes. You can see they're starting to melt down a little bit. At this point, I'm going to sift in my matcha. We're going to sift in just about half a teaspoon. Really play with this because you might like a stronger matcha or you might want a lighter matcha. It just depends on your preference. I found half a teaspoon to be a great starting point. I could probably go for something a little bit stronger, but you will also be coating these in matcha powder, so keep that in mind as well. Just get it all nicely sifted in there. If there are any chunks, help it out a little. get it through the sieve. This is a very fine sieve. It actually came with my Matcha Curry matcha set. So thank you guys over at Matcha Curry again for the amazing matcha. We're gonna get this combined. And now it really is just a waiting game. We're waiting for all of this to melt down. At this point, you can kind of pick it up and touch it. It'll be warm at the bottom. That's what we want, not hot. And now things have started to melt. I'm going to turn my knob up to the hotter setting. And this will help speed up our process a little bit. My cream was actually cold when I got it out of the fridge. I used it straight out of the fridge, so I just wanted to not shock it with too much heat at the beginning. Now we let it melt. All right, so we can see that it's starting to really melt down here. You just want to give a nice stir until all the chips are melted and you get this very smooth kind of batter. And when all the chocolate chips are melted, we're going to stir in 1 tablespoon of butter, and that butter can be cold. It's doing really well. I don't really see white chocolate chips anymore. Oh, there's one. I'm gonna maneuver it until it melts, and then I'm gonna turn my pot down again, because at this point, we're just going to cut the butter, put it in, and finish up our truffle batter. I'm gonna cut about a tablespoon of butter. And we're going to combine it until all the butter is incorporated into the rest of the mixture. And then we'll pour it into the piping bag and pipe it into our silicone molds so that they can set in a nice half dome shape. This all comes together pretty quickly once we add the butter. It should take about a minute or two for all the butter to be melted and incorporated into the rest of your batter. Keep mixing so that we don't get any pools of fat anywhere. And you don't want to make it too hot because that can potentially cause your chocolate to break a little bit and get chunky. Almost there. All right, looks nice and smooth. So this is what we're looking for. This is done. You can tell that it's sticking to itself, not really to the silicone. This is exactly the kind of texture we're looking for. Now that our truffle mixture is done, it's all nice and smooth and everything's combined, I'm gonna go ahead and unplug this guy, move it aside, and pour all this mixture, whoop, try not to drop anything, pour it all into the piping bag so that I can put it into the molds to set before we roll them in matcha powder. All right, so I'm basically going to twist the top and I'm gonna cut a little hole in my piping bag so that I can pour the mixture or squeeze the truffle mixture out of the piping bag. And these are our tipless piping bags from our shop. So yeah, check it out, Borderlands Bakery. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna keep most of the batter like in my hand. I'm using my other hand here at the tip to prevent the batter from sliding out too much. And I'm gonna go ahead and start squeezing it into the mold. squeeze, 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 apply pressure, and when you reach the top, release pressure, give it a little twirl. And it's so easy to make a big batch of these guys. The recipe can be, you know, double, triple, quadrupled, pretty much whatever you want. And the mixture is still quite warm at this point. We're gonna be putting this in the fridge for about 20 minutes to fully set up. You can see using 5 ounces of white chocolate chips makes pretty much just enough to fill up this mold that I've got here. I'm gonna top off some of them so that I have minimal waste of my truffle batter. Look at that. I think I'm pretty happy with that. I'm just gonna give it a little light tap, and then we're gonna set this on a flat surface inside of the fridge for about 20 minutes before we demold them, and then we're gonna roll them in a little bowl of matcha. All right, these have been sitting in the fridge for about 20 to 30 minutes. They should be very solid to the touch. They're gonna have a little give because truffles are really smooth and quite soft, and you will again have to store these in the fridge, and they should pop out very easily from their molds. And once they do, we're going to immediately give it a matcha bath in matcha curry matcha. I'm going to use a fork and just move it around. Dust off any excess matcha. And then I'm going to transfer it into a bowl. And now I'm going to keep doing this. So to unmold these guys, I'm going to push on the bottom and basically peel it back and pull this guy out. Beautiful little dome. Dunk it in the matcha. Give it a good bath in that matcha powder. Tap it off on the side, transfer to a bowl. And we're just gonna keep doing that until we've done it for all of our little matcha spheres. You can also put this in like a large container and cut up to your desired shape and size. But why not use these silicone molds? Because we've got them. You can also swirl it to cover the matcha if you so desire. Buddy.
That looks phenomenal.
All right, so if you guys want to get super fancy, we have some gold leaf here. Got this from Amazon. I'll link you guys to it. Look at that, so pretty. And I've got one of my brushes from our website that we've also designed, and we're just going to transfer a bit of gold leaf onto the top. And I'm using a fork to help me out because that powder is going to make it a little difficult to adhere, and if you're doing gold leaf, you want to keep that in mind. So you can choose to do that if you want to.